Just want to thank everyone for coming tonight. I know it's not easy. Everyone has things to do. We have a short program tonight. We're really very thankful for all Daddy's friends that were so special to him. It's very important to us that you're here, and you're so important to us. And the stories that you have to share, the memories that you have, especially for me, my family, my sister, and the grandkids, who don't have any memory of my father other than the memories that you guys really shared to us. And we really, really cherish it, and we're really so appreciative of anything that you want to share. We have the videographer, Joe Braha, if you want to do something in private for the family. Karen is also walking around. Karen, raise your hand. If you want to share anything, the family definitely appreciates it. I had a lot to say. I know it's not easy digging up the past, and no one really likes to do it, but what it does for people like me and my sister and the grandkids, you can't put it into words. My brother has memories, we don't have memories. So really, your stories are the fabric that we really build for what my father was, Alav Shalom. And we really, really are so grateful. I would be remiss if I didn't mention my other dad, Steve. Big thank you. God bless you. We love you. You're an amazing man, and you really, with Adam and Raquel, completed our family, and we love you. So, without further ado, Amy, we're going in reverse order tonight. Amy.
Steve, you really are a truly extraordinary person. You jumped right in, you completed our family, and even expanded it with Adam and Raquel. And we love our Haddad clan, and we feel very blessed and lucky to share such a close relationship with our siblings. But we also feel very blessed for the relationship that we share with each and every one of you that's here tonight. Our extended Haddad family and all of my parents' friends. You've made such a tremendous impact and difference in our lives over the last 40 years, and even more than that. After my father's passing, the emotional support and the love that you all provided helped my mom persevere and get through the difficult times. Her strength became ours. And still today, every time we see each one of you, it reminds us of our father. And the deep connection that we share, and the feeling of comfort and joy that we feel when we bump into you, when we hear from you, it's quite overwhelming. Maybe more than I could ever describe or that you could ever know. It's as if, for me, it's as if I'm being kissed by my father every time. And you've all contributed to keeping my father alive all these years and keeping his legacy alive. And for that, we are also forever grateful.
Love you. Also, I remembered one thing. We posted a lot of videos on YouTube, and we're going to be adding more videos because a lot of people came to me tonight and said that they have old VHS, whatever. And if you go to YouTube and you Google Ricky Haddad, there's old videos. I didn't make the title, but they're called Jet Set videos from the 60s and 70s, and they're awesome. So, Adelaide. No, Adelaide. Hi. We're ready for the Big Brother High.
Right, everybody relax. Please. So I was in Deal Shul today for my grandson's Brit Milah. Thank you. Sorry if I didn't invite my consuegro is not an easy fellow. I wasn't sure he wanted me to invite anybody. So I only invited my aunts and my mother took care of the other people, so I'm sorry if I didn't invite anyone. But I prayed in the minyan, and I was in Deal Shul, and they gave me petiha when you open up the sefer. And I don't know if many of you were at my bar mitzvah, but when I got up to speak, I was only able to thank the rabbis, my mother, and one other person. And the other pages didn't. So we'll see if that happens again here. In any event, I created a memoir. Just to preface, I'm not sure that what I want to say is what you expect, but it's what I prepared before they even decided to do this. So I created a memoir called Ricky Haddad, 40 years later, what the world has missed. And the truth is, it's about 40 years in the making. Only not a single word was put down on paper until a few months ago. We've had a lot of yard sites, and I've never really paid attention to them, to be honest. I sometimes pay for a meal in shul, sometimes I'll donate something, say Kaddish, don't say Kaddish. But this year was 40 years, and I felt that it was a little different. And so I posted a picture of him and Adelaide and Amy on LinkedIn, along with some words about my wonderful uncles who aren't with us today. The day before that picture I posted, I spoke in shul about how great the mitzvah is about making a Kiddush Hashem, which is doing a random act of kindness in front of non-Jews or for a non-Jew. One day later I posted that picture, and one day after that I thought that driving into the city I would do what I said, and I would help someone who had some scaffolding falling off his truck. So a moment or two later, I was badly hurt in an accident that nearly tore my left arm off and easily could have killed me. The pain that I suffered that day almost made me pass out. But the very last day the ER went to set my already broken shoulder, something snapped in my mind, as if you're driving a car and you keep your foot down, and then at the very end, the engine blows. I didn't know until a couple of weeks later, at my friend's Brit Milah, I found myself crying in the corner of the room, uncontrolled, and I couldn't make it stop. So I had developed what they call PTSD from the trauma that I suffered there, and even the smallest trigger, whether it be a sad story or love songs, which I got hooked on from all my DJ years, which I listened to, I'll just start crying without control, and I'd have to pull to the side. I won't be able to see the road. So I'm dealing with that in therapy, clearly not working, but I became much more aware of what I was feeling or what I was burying, and I felt the need to share. My therapist says that mourning is public, and I don't think that Adelaide at 10, me at 8, and me at 4, and Douglas at 1, had a real chance to do that. Maybe that's what this is. Maybe not what you expected. But that's what it is. Putting these thoughts down really was not easy. You see, you don't really know grief until you know grief. Hashem gives us a gift that we can forget things and we can continue to be functioning human beings. Only the thing about grief is that when it comes as if whatever happened seconds ago. So I'm brought back to that day, cold, freezing day, February 5th, 1979. And I only have one memory from that day. Actually, I have two. I remember Uncle Mickey, Alav Shalom, came to Flatbush Yeshiva to pick me up. He took me by my hand, and he walked me into a car. And there's one other memory I remember. I remember standing with Haddad at the back of the hearse with Mommy. Back door was open. She put my hand on its casket and she said, "Come say goodbye to Daddy." And that's it. That feeling of my hand touching it, Mommy grabbing it, and everything else that followed is etched in memory. One of the reasons for this event is so our kids who never met him can get a glimpse of what they're missing. So if some of you can feel me now, then you can feel him. Take me at my best, filled with life, smiles, energy, and multiplied by 1,000. My need to constantly feel people, to help people, to live a packed life comes from him. This world and community will never really know what loss, or what the loss of not having him is. But the select few of us, lucky enough to have felt him and his love, will continue to feel that loss forever. I ask you to cherish every minute you have breathing and be thankful for it. I wish all of you long and prosperous lives filled with joy, love, and health. Thank you all for coming.
So much for the tough big brother high.
One of the basic principles of every single art form. One of the basic principles of every single art form has to do not with what's there, music, the movement, the dialogue, the paint, but with what isn't. In the visual arts, it's called the negative space. The blank, empty parts around and between, which of course is every bit as crucial as that which can be seen and touched. The negative space allows us to see the non-negative space in all its glory, its color, its beauty, and light. Unfortunately, tragedies happen. How we respond to them defines our character and the quality of our life. Having experienced loss at a very young age, I learned that life is short, beautiful, and precious. I have grown into an adult, but the tears remain in my eyes. The grief remains in my soul, making life's joys that much more poignant and meaningful. My deep awareness of others' pain allows me to live each day with gratitude and gives me a greater appreciation for the little things. I cherish the important people in my life and feel compelled to let them know how much they mean to me. My mother, the strongest and most inspiring person I know, taught me by example that we can transcend all challenges and continue on with even greater passion and zest for life. I strive to savor each moment, to be forgiving, brave, and kind. 40 years have gone by, a lifetime. The pain is still very real, but so is the love. It lives on. It is very clear to me the profound impact my father had on others. Throughout my entire life, upon meeting someone, when I told them my name was Adelaide Haddad, they would be stopped. Your father was Ricky? They would look sad for a brief moment, but then everyone would have wonderful memories to share with me. I have heard from people much younger, as well as much older than my father, that he was their mentor, that he taught them to think outside the box, or that he did something so outrageously funny they haven't laughed that hard since. I hold dear everyone's stories, and it brings me tremendous comfort to know that he is still remembered. My father was most definitely handsome and charismatic, but his real gift was what he was able to give to others. He was genuinely interested in the well-being of all he knew. He was open-minded, thoughtful. He was generous with his time and attention. He was an incredible athlete and encouraged many to excel in sports. He had tremendous foresight and shared valued business advice. He helped couples who were having marital issues. He counseled young adults who were struggling with addiction. He was a man who gave of himself. He was a man of chesed, a man we lost way too soon. I am certain that he continues to watch over and guide us. He is the colorful butterfly that lands at my feet. He is the salty ocean that washes away my sadness and stress. When we needed it most, he saved us. He sent us Steve. Steve has been a compassionate and loving father figure and raised us like his own. An incredible husband to my mother and a wonderful grandfather to our children. Steve helped us to stay a family, and best of all, he gave us my brother Adam and my sister Raquel. I love you all so much. When I see my father's sisters, my aunts, Barbara, Carol, Eileen, and Robin, I sometimes feel the pain of our shared loss, but always feel the tremendous love they have shown to my mother, my siblings, and me throughout my entire life. You made sure to keep us close. We treasure each of you. I don't remember the sound of his voice. I don't remember the smell of his cologne, but I feel him with me every day. He is a part of me. He is a part of us. Hi, you have inherited his confidence, his intelligence, and sense of humor. Amy. Daddy lives on through your generosity and the endless time and energy you spend helping others. Douglas, I see him in your sensitivity, your carefree spirit, and in your remarkable devotion to your family and friends. My father left us with a lot to live up to. I hope we've made him proud.
Gotta love you, big sisters.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming. to say a few words about tonight's tribute to Ricky. Even though I did not know Ricky, I still feel that I have a close connection with him from Sarah and through some of his close and dear friends. Over the years, I have heard countless stories about Ricky, how he had touched so many people's lives. Some of the stories were very heartwarming and very touching. Some were also very funny. As many of you know, Ricky was known to have a wonderful sense of humor. There's no question that Ricky left his mark on Sarah. When you look back over the past 40 years of her life and how she conducted herself with such elegance and grace and managed to raise 4 beautiful and wonderful children who I love and care for as my very own. Each one is so very special in their own way. God willing, Ricky and Sarah's legacy will live on through their children. I pray for Hashem to bless Sarah, all of our children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, and Ricky's 4 wonderful sisters with long life, health, and happiness. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. So, my name is Adam, part of the family. And it just occurred to me while I was listening, 2 things. One is, I'm the reason that my mother got over grays when she was 30. Gray hairs. What occurred to me is that I've never met Ricky, I've never known him. I've only heard stories, I've heard jokes or anything like that. And I've heard a lot that he was a very giving person. And what I was just thinking about is that without knowing me, he gave me my mother. And I'll always be grateful for that.
Thank you, Eileen. We're missing you. She's coming around. We love you.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Sarah, Steve, and my wonderful nieces and nephews. Thank you for the remarkable and memorable evening. Sarah, do you remember the first time we met? Oh, I hope same memory. So long ago. Anyhow, you came and you tried out for cheerleaders, Lincoln High School. I was so impressed. So impressed. I was 16, you were 15. Like, I knew what impressed was. I was comfortable.
Have any moves
The
for us
days
tonight?
they're gone. So I do remember though going home that night, specifically telling Ricky, I met a beautiful girl today and I really think you would like her. It wasn't something that I used to do, it really wasn't. And I told him her name is Sarah Mann. And his classic answer was, the caterer's daughter, Mr. Mann, who makes the great chicken a la king. As some of you aren't old enough to remember who Mr. Mann was. He was a part of the community. We laughed and we joked many times about it. And, but you got the last letter because you proved to be above and beyond any professional caterer. Inspired by Grandma, we'll never forget her. And you are the most gracious hostess and person I know. I'm going to tell you my story. I'd like to share with you something Ricky wrote to Fonzie and I many years ago. So to preface it, 43 years ago, 1977, Fonzie and I bought the house of our dreams, which might not have happened without Ricky's encouragement and his advice. Ricky had a way of putting things in perspective and bottom lining a situation. I see that ability in his children, and I see it in Sarah. So back to the house. One very cold night, Fonzie and Ricky took a ride from work in New York, and, well, of course it's true. I don't know how to not tell the truth. So, to show Ricky the house and get his opinion. When they rang the bell, the owner told them he was on his way out, and there was no way that they could come in and see the house. They stood for 3 minutes in the entry hall, and they had no choice but to leave 3 minutes later. So they got back to the car, and Ricky was emphatic. Buy it, and let's go home now. 3 minutes later, they drove back all the way to Brooklyn. And I remember very well, a few days later, I got a phone call from Ricky, and he said, I want you to listen carefully. I'm warning you. I know you want to be the good wife. It was way before they had that series, The Good Wife. But when Fonzie comes to you and he's getting cold feet about the house and money, I want you to stand your ground, because it's the right thing to do, and you will be happy down the road. As predicted, that did happen. And with the confidence Ricky had given me, I was prepared. And now we're going to fast forward. After 40 years in that house, 300 Park Avenue, filled with wonderful memories and much happiness, thank God, we moved out. So 3 years ago, the week we moved into the new house, we were surrounded by cartons. And I was just walking by, and this one carton, there was this one carton, there was paper sticking up and waiting for me to just grab it. As I believe everything is meant to be, and that our departed loved ones are always close by. This letter, which was written to Fonzie and I on our wedding day, 52 years before I discovered it again, was meant to surface at this time. Number one, for Fonzie and I to read the words just as, if not more important, than when they were written. And for Ricky and Sarah's children to read his words in his handwriting as a 23-year-old, mature, caring, responsible young man, wise beyond his years. The week I found the letter, not coincidentally, Adelaide and Ralph's daughter, Sarah Kesbury, had gotten engaged. And tomorrow's Kish. So I do feel very much that this was a message from your grandfather, Shalom, to all of his grandchildren, for you to take to heart for your futures. And I'm going to end with the remarkable letter that was written December 15, 1963. 1963. Dear Eileen and Al, we all have had our confusion, but thank God it appears to be over. Another time I'll tell you what that means. That's a very interesting story. Okay. Before you still lies many hurdles. I am confident you can scale them as long as you lean and rely on one another and not let things or people come between your ideals and self-chosen goals. I believe the two most important words you both should remember are respect and devotion. As long as both of you are devoted to and respect one another, true happiness will follow easily. I wish you both a long and happy life together. God be with you always. All my love. 23 years old.
Thank you, India. Vicky Sutton at the house. Here he is. Here, here.
Know what they see, what they don't. They should come in the house. I will.
Anybody want to shift seats? Now's your chance.
Hey, Brian.
Ricky remembered 2019. First, let me say, not everyone loved Ricky. Not everyone loved Ricky. He was an enigma and very complex. He could be aloof, independent, haughty, and fickle. Dared to be close and risk a broken heart, male or female. He was smart, witty, charming, funny, and entertaining. In addition to being handsome and a great athlete. If he wanted to charm you, no one could resist him. He was irresistible and was loved equally by men and women. The laughter he evoked with his humor was painful. It was from deep in your stomach and gut-wrenching. The kind that really hurt you and you lost your breath. Not one of us has ever laughed that hard again. Ever. I would often ask him to tell a funny story and he would decline as there was a lot of emotion and energy in the telling. I would say, that's okay, I'll tell it. 30 seconds later he would say, stop. Of course, he knew and I knew that I would screw it up. He then would take over and send us into hysterics. Restaurant servers would vie to get his table, as there was always something exciting going on and the chance to make extra money or lose it. His favorite was to flip them, heads or tails for the tip. He always made good one way or the other, win or lose. We all loved the action. I always felt bad for the server when they lost, but to Ricky, it was the thrill of winning and losing and entertaining us all. Ketchup, mustard, salt, pepper were always nearby to saturate the dinner or the dessert. This was to ensure no overeating, no picking on the food. He would kill it with the condiments, making it inedible, ever watchful of his weight. Once, while making an illegal left turn into the Battery Tunnel, he was pulled over by an officer. Asked for his license and registration, Ricky began his dumb psycho routine and started the search for the document. Within moments, the glove compartment was open, the 4 doors swung wide open, the trunk and the hood opened high as well. Ricky telling the officer, "They're here somewhere, just give me some time." Dizzy from his antics, the officer told him to just go and drive safe. A tactic he used more than once. Teaching me. I always say that Ricky taught me how to think. Egotistically, I presumed to always be right. But during our discussions, I found that some of my thoughts and ideas were wrong and that he was right. I learned then to give equal time to opposing views and to give myself another perspective. That perspective given by him, if he was here. I vowed then and until now to be more diligent in my analysis and to look at a subject from all sides. The quickest answer was not the best answer. The right answer was. Early on in my marriage, Elaine would get an allowance for her household expenses. He casually mentioned how degrading it must be for wives to have to ask for pocket money. He said that he put a lump sum in an old suit pocket and Sarah spent as she needed. When empty, he refilled the pocket. This was in 1975 and was unheard of, an idea way before its time. I immediately started a pot for Elaine. Lump sum, refilled with empty, in practice still today. And I would be a lot richer if I gave Elaine the whole pot and let her manage it. One summer we came up from New Orleans with some married friends. He was a psychiatrist, and while playing tennis that day, I marveled at Ricky's new Wilson Classic racket that he had let me use. He said, "Keep it, I have 3. I said, "Of course not, I won't hear of it," and insisted on paying him for it. And even exchange. Money, racket, no emotion, no attach. A transaction. Trying not to get too close, ever careful of my being discarded. That evening, upon telling my friend the psychiatrist about my new racket and paying for it, he told me what a mistake I had made. He said I had taken the joy of giving and befriending from Ricky, and the pleasure of receiving and being grateful from myself. The next day, I went to Ricky and asked for my money back. I wasn't so happy with it. I then thanked him as profusely as I could and told him how much I loved my new racket and how much it meant to me and how much I appreciated his gift. And I knew then that with that racket came his love. I learned a valuable, lifelong lesson about giving and receiving that day. His loss to his family, wife, and children and friends was great. as was the loss of him to our community, all of humanity, and mankind. I have never forgotten him, for I loved him then and now. May God bless him and his family forever.
Thank you. Thank you, Dickie. Rena? Dickie had an inappropriate joke that Elaine scratched from his speech. I read it and I thought it was very funny. All right, got it. Rena? Is it set?
Not fair you make me follow things. I had my drink so I could tell you in my speech, if there's any member of our that said, or our friends that says they were never madly in love with Ricky, they are lying. Ricky A. Richard Haddad was our Prince Charming, our JFK, our golden boy. He was sandwiched between three sisters in a house I always think of as full of love. From Adelaide yelling up the steps and Bradley calling, "Barbara, get your ass down here." To Eileen making a perfect drink for her father, Hyde, when he got home from work. That was love. I and Adam were my parents' friends, and I remember standing next to Ricky, the window of their home. 97, was he 7, I think?
Very nice, Dickie.
His father had just passed. The loss was immense. Ricky looked out and said, "Look at those people going at their lives as if nothing catastrophic had happened." I was so loved by his friends, by everyone. He spoke to us, Eileen's friends, as if we were equals, adults. Losing Ricky was catastrophic. He was a man who could lose it if a bird dared to offer droppings on the top of his new car, and be so gentle if you needed a friend. He's gone, but I think of him often. He is our youth. He is on my mind, forever young.
Thank you. Francine, alrighty.
Francine.
We honor your strength. Woman always needs her pocketbook.
Outline, remember that trip as I started when my mother wanted me to students here. Okay. Yours true. That's you are all, everybody here has something. And that man was so good. He used to come to my home, sit at my breakfast table. Adelaide read books to you. Where is she? He loved his little Amy, her child, little baby. And hi.
I'm here.
Hi.
Wave.
You know, he used to tell me, Francine, notice on the TV how many redheaded kids are on advertisements? It's so popular. They had beautiful red hair. Little Douglas. He gave you beautiful. He loves you. Sarah, no. And we adored you. Who's my husband? Jack Bennon. We loved him. Jack and Ricky were best friends. And that's how I got close to Ricky. Jack, if he was still with you, your life would be very different. Filled with joy and wonderful days, nights. He was kind, he was intelligent, he was educated, he never cursed, he never yelled. I never heard of him. He was one of a kind, he was before everybody. You know, intellectual. He only wished everybody good. He was the best company in the entire universe. We would go out for dinner, and I'd sit in the back of your Mercedes. Ricky, stop, my face is hurting. I cannot stop laughing. He made me laugh, and laugh, and laugh. He was gorgeous. He was charming. There was nothing Ricky didn't do. Nothing. Everybody loved him. Everybody wanted him. Everybody. Nobody wanted him. Dickie, you said that perfectly. There's only one thing left to say. I can't really say it well, but when I think of Ricky, of Ricky, man, woman, child. Scrubs. Love you all.
I just want you to know I didn't set up the audio system here, so please don't blame me for Francine's musical interlude. I have nothing to do with it. Our systems work beautifully. I
Jackie.
promise.
Jack Duche? No. Irwin. Here he is. Irwin came with a book.
Ricky Haddad. If you spend any time with him, he lives with you forever. 40 years ago, I was in the hallway of your Bedford Avenue home. I was hiding. I was trying to hold back my tears. I felt guilty crying. I wasn't family. I wasn't a lifelong friend like Dickie, Jackie Bennon, and Duche, all there crying. I was there paying respects to a person that I loved. A person that I looked up to as my mentor and as my big brother. Ricky and I were about 10 years apart in age. As a matter of fact, I was Robin's friend, 1 year ahead of her in PS 238. And all we spoke about was which Robin was prettier. Newly married, in my young 20s, I remember watching Ricky play tennis at Glenwood Racquet Club. I would watch through the window, him and Duche. He was truly a great player, powerful, but also graceful. Everyone enjoyed watching him play. Remember Mr. Charlie Antoki? Remember? Charlie Antoki loved watching tennis. He gave Ricky the nickname, the Stallion.
Hence the Stallion.
Ricky was by far the best all-around athlete in the community. My goal was to one day get good enough to play with him. A couple of years later, I got lucky. Summer came, and because the senior partners in our respective businesses took off either Fridays or Wednesdays, that left him and I with Mondays off. I had him all to myself. We would meet at Chocolate Soda for breakfast, then to his backyard right here for hours of tennis drills, later taking a break to do some errands. We used to visit the garage that he had his Jaguar in all the time for repair, and I would see the engine on the floor on the blanket. He would check on it every week. Then we'd grab some lunch, and then back to his house for more tennis, practice, games, and sets. He beat me all the time. To give you an idea of how much I revered him, if I was ever lucky enough to win a game, I would never tell anyone. I was lucky that Ricky took a liking to me. He didn't like everyone, so I felt honored that he took me under his wings. But it wasn't just about tennis. Ricky shared some of his life experiences with me. He gave me advice in business, in friendships, and in family matters. And he set an example to me by how he treated, loved, and respected Sarah. He was a great father. He was a great community leader. I remember him once doing a community play. I think it was Oklahoma. I think he produced it, directed it, was the leading man, and also the MC. And all the time he was on the podium, he had his arm around Sarah. Ricky welcomed Janie and I to his home, and we got to know and love his beautiful family. I was very lucky to know and love Ricky, and as I said in my opening, if you spend any time with Ricky, he lives with you forever.
God bless. Erwin. I don't know how I got another mic.
Because I brought the sound.
Just saying.
Erwin, I just want you to know that I'm here at the corner loving it. Yeah, take your glasses off, maybe you'll see me.
Take your glasses off.
I want everybody to know that I know Adelaide and I, if I remember, she remembers, but Erwin came that week and he brought gifts. He walked in with a pile, holding it like this. And he just brought gifts every day to me and Adelaide and Amy. And I knew then who his best friends were. And I still know them today. So thank you, Erwin.
Thank you, Erwin. Thank you, Robin. Duche, I'm not letting you off the hook so easy, so you're coming up.
Hi. Say a few words.
Shut you up? 1, 2.
This is not my forte, that's all I have to say. Ricky was my brother, and mostly my protector from any evil but negativity in the outside world. When my dad passed away, I was 10, and Ricky became my father figure. He jumped right in, and for my 11th birthday, Ricky bought me a white French poodle. Midway. French.
Midnight.
Exactly. As I grew older, I was introduced as Ricky's baby sister, and I was so proud of it. I remember whenever I was sick in bed, he would stand in the doorway, just his eyes would come through, and he'd say, "How you doing, Robin?" Because he didn't want to breathe any of the germs. "Do you need anything?" He would never come in the room. I thought that was the funniest thing. He was like so afraid. Ricky was the go-to guy for everything. Small, large, difficult, or easy. He was where everyone turned to. Talk about health. Part of him was always balanced, not only in his lifestyle, but in his health. He would eat clean and balanced meals and was always up on the new fads, trying to lose the same 3 pounds. He was obsessed with his pants and would always do this to show us that he had a flat stomach and that he lost a little. Talk about an athlete. He was very active, whether by jogging in Mill Basin or playing golf or tennis outside. He built this tennis court, I believe, before he even had access to the house. Okay, so he was obsessed. He appeared always tan and gorgeously healthy by being outdoors, but also from the sunland. I know this because my friend, Robin Rosenthal, we used to play in Ricky's room. Little did we know that there was a sunland. We used to play house. And Robin was Ricky Haddad, the movie star's wife, as most of the young girls did. There were many stories of how my brother helped people personally and financially with advice. But it was more than that. Even though he had a gold knocker on his door that my mother bought that you had to knock before you went in, his door was always open. He had a way of making people comfortable around him. The simple things. I remember if I would ask him for $10, he would always give me more. He would give me 20. And then he gave this advice to the young husbands when they were married to their wives, that you should always give more than your wife wants. I don't know how that worked out. Charisma. He was the king of one-liners. He would break the tension in the room in a second, be it a sarcastic comment or a very sharp, quick-witted statement, and he was always on target. I enjoyed the pure joy of putting a smile on his face from him. Enjoy every moment. Ricky showed us by the way he conducted himself how to really enjoy our lives. Joie de vivre, if you may. He learned that from my father, Haddad, who said, live every moment as if it was your last, and he did. When I had my third son, my sister Barbara called Ricky. He was in the hospital. And she said, Robin has a free name. And Ricky answered, tell her to name him Ricky. It was a little difficult for me to call him Ricky exactly, so I called him Richie. I see many characteristics of Ricky in my 3 sons, and I'm so happy, as well as his children, and it just makes me smile. Ricky taught me how to walk through a heavy storm with dignity, keeping my head up high, and just wearing a smile. I will forever be his baby sister.
Jackie.
Like to hear from him. Like to hear.
Naomi? Anyone else who has a funny story? Who doesn't want funny
Eileen
stories?
Sutton, everybody. Give her a big hand.
All right. So much for no pressure.
I just want to tell everyone how much Ricky loves his children. We used to come to deal winter days, weekends, fill a little laundry basket full of children's clothes and sleigh ride with Adelaide High, and Amy was a little one, and maybe Douglas was still in the belly, I don't know. He loved you so much. He was the best father, the best friend. Joe met him many years before through Fancy. And when Ricky went to New Orleans to his friend, his bestie, Dickie asked him, so who do you hang out with now? And he says, you wouldn't know him, this guy Joe Sutton. He goes, Joe Sutton? How do you understand him? He doesn't speak English. We cherish his memory, all the trips, all the vacations, all the love, all the fun. He's a beautiful, wonderful man. That's my story to Norman Ezra.
What I want to say, I can't say in this room. So, all I'm saying is we're all good, by the way. No? Can't make myself. No, I'll give you a tale about a tennis match. We were playing by Sonny Lignano's house, and I know Ricky, he always beat me in tennis. But you can see why. I didn't know he was taking 18 hours of lessons with Irvin on slide. Okay, so now, how am I going to beat Ricky? But I knew his sight. So I go to Sonny's house, and Sonny's tennis court goes the wrong way in the sun. And I'm estimating, okay, I'll play Ricky, got to be around 11 or 12, I don't know, I'm estimating all this. And I go onto the tennis court and I'm watching where the sun goes. And I figured out that the sun at a certain time, knowing Ricky's personality, okay, he's going to serve first. Because he's better than his partners. I don't remember the partners anymore. I said, okay, I know I will pick the side, knowing when it's time for Ricky to serve, he will be serving into the sun. And when it came my turn, I gave my partner the first serve. And everyone said, how could you give him that? But they didn't understand what I was doing. I was timing the sun. That's the only way I could beat Ricky. So now during the game comes, and we're switching sides, and then I hit a ball in the air into the sun, because I know he's not going to be able to see it. And he takes his racket and he swings and misses. I says, wow, this is crazy. This is really working. Now, I'm serving in the shade, and Ricky's serving in the sun. And he was a very good server, but if you can't see the ball, you can't serve. At the end of that time, it's the only time I think I beat him. I had to. But me and Ricky had clashing personalities. To say the least. To say the least.
It's kind of a thing with Marvin to clash with people.
But only one good thing about him. A lot of fun, great guy. He was a magnet. Wherever he walked in, they all loved him. I understand that. Doesn't happen to me as much as Ricky. But I got it.
I used to host New Year's parties. At that time, we didn't have NCP production. We all chipped in for a party. I get a call from Ricky Haddad, 1:30 in the morning. I'm dead asleep. Lydia, I'm gonna take the Annie with the worker to clean the house after the party. He kept me on the phone for 40 minutes, going through all the budget, and it was just an amazing thing. Went to sleep, okay, Ricky, I'll absorb it, and the next day he called me. He said, Lydia, I just want to have an itemized list of what everything costs. And I said, I'll take Anna off the budget. That was it.
Jackie, bring it. Jackie.
Hi, everybody. Many of us go through our daily lives thinking that we are in charge, especially us control freaks. None of us here, of course. We don't forget that there's a higher power, but we do, however, forget that if there is a higher power, then consequently, there must be a higher plan. We've all heard the expression, get your affairs in order, but we're not always mindful of the higher order of affairs, arranged perhaps long before we were born. A plan, a spiritual contract, a purpose, a brit, a covenant between souls and God. But every once in a while, we are reminded of the greater plan. Years after my Uncle Ricky passed away, Alav Shalom, Sarah met Steve. Regardless of how many years had already passed, no matter how perfect a man or how perfect a match, most children have some amount of difficulty accepting somebody new in the role of a parent, especially children so young. Around the time Auntie Sarah and Steve got engaged, I had a dream, a visit, if you will, from my Uncle Ricky. He wanted to give me a message to his children, a message that he was desperate that they should hear, at least the ones who were old enough to understand. He needed them to know that this marriage was not something that he simply approved of, but that this marriage was arranged a long time ago. You don't understand, he said. We have a deal, Steve and I. We have a contract. Steve wasn't some random gorgeous guy that Sarah fell in love with. This was not their mother's choice, but God's. That these two men were spiritual partners, that Hashem had bound their legacies, the legacies of two men, these two souls, together. Here's to two great men and one great legacy.
No, I can't say anything. Anyway, let me just say, okay, so Sarah's mother and my mother are sisters. It was Auntie Tot and Auntie Amy. And when I was a kid, Auntie Amy was always carving the turkey in Ocean Parkway, and Ricky was always admiring Sarah, and I said, ooh, when I get older, I want to have a guy like that. I want to be in love like that. That's all I have to say, and I just really miss Ricky, and I love you, Sarah, very, very much.
So, okay, I have nothing prepared. And you've all been an incredible audience, and I appreciate all of you coming here today. And there is a videographer. If anybody else has stories, please go share them and document them for my children and grandchildren and for myself as well. And I invite you to drink and eat, and I hope I don't run out of food. And please enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy your life. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your children. I love all of you, and thank you for coming.
So I just wanted to say that I worked with Ricky when I was younger, from like 13 to 17 I was. I just have one vision of him. It was market week. I worked at Haddad Brothers. I was one of the receptionists in the front. during market week, all these buyers from out of town would come in. They died for Ricky. He was so gorgeous. So when they'd come in, they'd sit down in the booth. I'd go in the back and call him. He would come out. They would be melting just looking at him. They would sit in the booth. There were almond kisses on the table and whatever from Aunt Sarah, the fat Aunt Sarah. And then when he would come in, he would start insulting them. I don't know what kind of wisecracks he made, but he'd be insulting them, and they'd be laughing and eating it up and wanting more of whatever he gave them. And then, sure enough, came time to show the line. He took the little dresses from the rack and started throwing them at their faces. Literally throwing them at their faces. One after another, 10 dresses in their faces, and they were so happy, they didn't care. They just wanted more because everyone loved your father. Ricky was a perfect man. He was a prince. Nothing he could do wrong. He did everything so great. And like they all said tonight, once you know him, you never forget him. He's always with you. I think about him all the time. All the time. I will never, ever forget him. It's just somebody so special. We were lucky to have known him. That's all I want to say.
Hi, I'm Barbara, Ricky's older sister, and I just want to say the day he was born, my father came home and was throwing money up in the air all over the place. He said, I won the lottery, I won the lottery. So the golden boy was born. I always looked up to him. This is the wire. Here, take this one. He was very, very special, Ricky, and I knew we had a relationship where I idolized him. It was more like he was older than I was. So when he came home and he said, I found a girl and I'm going to marry her, I said, there's no way anybody is good enough for you, Ricky. Come on. He took his arm around me and he said, you're going to love her. She reminds me of you. So he was right about one thing. I do love her, but he was wrong about the other. I'm certainly not like Sarah. I wish I was. Anyway, so enters the golden girl. That's what Sarah is to us.
Let's go, Bobby.
Yeah. So we treasure Sarah and we treasure Steve, and we feel like Ricky really sent him to us. And the relationship with the children is just unbelievable. They respect us and they admire us, and every time I see them, every one of them has something of Ricky in them. Something very, very special. I want to read a letter that Ricky wrote me in 1960 that I lived downstairs in a two-family house on East 8th Street. I mean, he really in the letter talks about me. I just want you to see what a compassionate person he was. He said, if money could show my sincere feelings for you, I wouldn't be able to afford to give you the large sum needed. This paper's from 1960. Since you moved downstairs, I know it's not necessary to say, but I have developed a deep affection and admiration and love towards you that most brother and sister relationships could never foster. You, beside my parents, are one of the very few people who have earned my respect. I wish you all the happiness in the world. Happy birthday, love, Ricky. And then at the end he wrote, this is your birthday, plus a sort of maternity gift. I was pregnant with my son Elliot at the time. So I don't know what to do with this paper because I found it in my papers the other day, and it's getting a hole in it, but it's his handwriting, and I wanted the kids to see it. It's very, very special. Oh, gorgeous. And I love you, Steve. We treasure you, and Sarah, we cherish both of you. God bless what you've done with your children.
I would like to say
that Ricky helped me attain the best years of my life. When Nazira, my daughter, may she rest in peace, was 2 years old, he told me, play tennis, Tira. You'll love it. It's such a great outlet for you to take care of your handicapped daughter. Even though he said it took me 2 years to learn how to walk onto the hard, true court, I always slipped when I walked onto the hard, true court. But what we found out later was that my real forte was the hard court tennis. And that I loved every single day of 45 years. He gave me strength to take care of my daughter and an outlet. And for that, I am will always be grateful for Ricky Haddad.
We've heard many wonderful things this evening, all very true about Ricky. I don't want to be repetitive, but to say that Ricky was ultra special is to minimize it. He was brilliant. He was very funny. I used to remember the ketchup that he used to pour all over the eggs and the potatoes when he didn't want to eat anymore. I loved him very much also, and I saw how he treated Sarah and all my nieces and nephews. And I thank him for being with us, and he's still with us. Ricky, I think if he was still here today, the community would be very different in many, many special, different ways, better ways maybe. I don't know. I think about him a lot, and I think about how things might have been completely different. At any rate, that's a whole different story. But I think Sarah and Steve did a magnificent job tonight. Thank them, and the kids did a fabulous job. All his children. And all I just want to say is I just wish everybody good health, good luck, prosperity, and everyone should be kind and happy and enjoy every day. With all that there has been said about him, it's very important to recognize the one wonderful thing about Rick is he was so genuine and so sincere with everything he did. It came to him naturally. Nothing was ever put on, nothing was created. That's who he was. You either got it or you didn't. He was fantastically brilliant that way.
One of my favorite recollections of Ricky was back in the Bradley Beach days. Girls and guys used to go to the sandbar on Friday nights. Sometimes when I went, I would see Cousin Ricky. We'd stop to talk about the family, Ricky asking about Aunt Molly, and a funny thing would happen. All of a sudden, any girl that knew my name would come over to us on the chance that I would introduce them to Ricky. To say he was handsome is an understatement. He beamed. He always had a smile on his face. He had a great personality. He was one of the most well-liked men in the community, both by women and men, loved by everyone. I was in heaven having the most popular boy on the boardwalk talking to me. After all these years, Ricky still has a place in my heart.
Hi, I'm Sarah Sarway, and I just want to talk about one incident with Ricky which stays in my mind. It was the 70s. We were all young and happy and having parties every other night and just having a great old time in Deal. And I had this party in my home, and everyone had a good time, and everyone was dancing and singing, and it was the next day. And we were just getting the house back in order after this party. In fact, we had Joey Jerome as our disc jockey. That's how long ago this was. And he was taking down all the wiring, and we were sitting around talking about the party, and all of a sudden, Ricky appeared at my front door. Hi, coming in. Come on in, Rick. And we thought he was coming in to talk about the party and whatever, but no. Ricky was coming in to tell us that he hoped we had a good time. He had a good time. We were all having a good time in Deal, beach, parties, whatever. But he wanted us to know that there were a lot of people still in Brooklyn who didn't even have enough to eat, and they were in our community. And we had to address this situation. And this was the beginning of B'chod Cholim. And he mentioned, of course, may he rest in peace, Joe Beda, he was working with to get enough people to get interested in this, to get this going, to help the people in our community that needed help. Not just the happy parties and the good times that we were having. We had to give our thoughts to the other side, to the people who couldn't have all of this. And I never knew him to be that kind of a guy, but he was. He was the most admired, looked at, up to guy, and here he was talking for people who couldn't talk for themselves. And I just was very impressed with him, and after that I was always impressed with him. He was a very special person.
When I was first married and in my early 20s, Ricky, Sarah, and I lived down the block from one another on Bedford Avenue. It was the late 60s and there was a chess craze engulfing America with Bobby Fischer. I learned to play and wanted a partner. Ricky said he would play. My ex-husband at that time was not at all interested and an early bird. I was filled with energy and obsession to play the game, so I would go down the block to play with Ricky. As I came through the door, he would announce to his family in his usual flamboyant manner, "Spassky is here, folks." During one of the games, he looked up at me and said, "You know, I like how your mind works." Well, did that really get to this insecure 20-year-old girl? Such a compliment from someone I admired so much. We all miss him. He was charming, smart, handsome, lively, with such a lust for life. At the end, I remember his comment, "Well, my luck just ran out." But we can always remember that gorgeous hunk of a man that we all felt had the world in his hands.
My name is Charlie Samach, Ricky Abraham Richard, my cousin. My brother is also Abraham Richard. My mother loved the name. She loved Ricky also very, very much, and she named her second son Abraham Richard. I only have one story to share. It's a serious story. I worked in the factory at Haddad Brothers, and Ricky worked in the office in New York. And once there was some fooling around going on in the factory, and Ricky heard about it, and he called me. I was wondering why he called me. I thought I was in trouble. I always looked up to him and respected him, and I thought I was in trouble, but he said, "There's too much fooling around going on over there." I said, "Ricky, he says, not you, not you." He said, "I just want you to know something, Charlie. This is a business, and it's supporting," I forgot what he said, 7, 8, 9 families. He said, "It has to be treated with respect." I never forgot it, and wherever I worked after that, I always treated my business, my work, my job with the utmost respect, and I have Ricky to thank for that.
When Ricky was young, I don't know how old he was, maybe he was 13. All of a sudden I hear strange noises coming from the kitchen. I walk in the kitchen and his face is in the freezer door. The freezer then was 2 shelves of ice cubes and a little door. And Ricky's face is smashed into the freezer with the door next to him. I go to pull his tongue and he starts doing, cold water, he tells me, which I had to understand. I poured cold water all over his face and his tongue came off of the freezer. Dip. I never asked him what he was trying to do. Another dumb story. Ricky used to love his pompadour. He'd take half an hour of doing his hair in front of the mirror. 1,000 times he'd comb it. I forgot what they used to use, some kind of Palmex or Vaseline thing. He was crazy about his pompadour. I don't know if people know who Howdy Doody was. When we were younger, there was a puppet, Howdy Doody, was on TV. And one day, my mother sent Ricky to the camera store on McDonald Avenue in Brooklyn to buy film. He went to buy the film, and the guy told him this cost such and such amount of money. He said, "Oh, my mother said I should tell you. Adelaide Haddad." He said, "I don't care if you're the president or howdy doody, that's the price." So now, anytime we go somewhere and someone tells you, tell them I sent you, or you're recommended by me, we all turn around and say, howdy doody, because it ain't going to get you anywhere. You can't hear me? Another story was, when I was growing up, they used to tell me I had personality. What I really wanted was to be told I was beautiful. So after I got married even, Ricky came over to me one day and he said to me, "You know what, Carol? If you want a nose job, I'll pay for it." I said, "I don't know, I'll think about it." He came back 2 weeks later, he said, "I thought about it, Carol. If you get a nose job, you might leave Al, so I'm reneging." So I never did get the nose job. And another story, well, the serious one is, he was a guiding light. He really was. He was my mentor. I used to go to him for counseling. He protected me, he guided me, and whenever I needed anything, he was there. He was my protector. And always there, always. What can I tell you? I miss him. I loved him. He was my big brother. And one of the things that I used to go to him for counseling, he was really like an older brother, but he was a year and a half younger than me. I'd go to him, I'd ask him about a lot of things. One of the things was about sex things. Because I wasn't out there and he was. So I asked him all those things and he came through for me. He guided me very well. I miss him. I love him. He really was my protector. And as far as describing him, I'll use temperature words. He was warm, he was cool, and he sure as hell was hot. And I loved him.
Hi, this is a letter that I've saved for 43 years. This was a thank you letter that he sent me when he got out of the hospital. Dear Joe and Denise, for the fear of becoming too sentimental, I'll be brief. I'll never forget your love, concern, and prayers for myself and my family during this nightmare. Your concern and affection had a most calming and positive effect on me and my recovery. From the bottom of my heart, I pray that you may only know health, happiness, success in the foreseeable future. Love, Ricky. This was so touching to me that I saved this and I cherished it. I cherished it, and he was such a role model for me when I was younger. And he would sit me down in his office one day and he tells me, "Joey, I was just starting out in business." He goes, "I want to give you one piece of advice. Stay with sophisticated people and you become sophisticated." Well, his advice was great. Thank God. I have a very happy life from a lot of his advice, and he was really an unbelievable person. And just a quick story. I would be out to dinner with my friends one day, and I'd have a big bowl of French fries. And all of a sudden, I would eat a couple pieces, and then I'd take a glass of water and shove it on the French fries. My friends were horrified. I said, "Well, this is the best way of staying thin." And I always do it. I still do it till today. We'll always love you and miss you, and God be with us. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Hi Laniato. My parents are Mickey and Barbara Laniato, just in case you don't know who I am. Another Hi in the family. So I want to talk a minute about really what Uncle Ricky meant for me. I was, like every teenager, going through a million different things when I was a kid. And he actually reached out to me and almost became my mentor and started speaking to me about just life and school and, you know, giving me confidence and way before that, we were constantly here. Like the Haddad family, by the way, is so close. It's literally like brothers and sisters. And to this day, my cousins are my best friends. And I think if you asked every one of them, they would probably say the same thing. I still remember the day my mom told me he passed away. I was sitting on the couch in the front of my house. I was devastated. I was 15, 16 years old. I thought my world fell apart. This was one of the first people that I knew that I was so close with, and I was basically lost and said, what am I going to do now? I still wish he was here today. I think about him often because he had phenomenal advice and insight at such a young age. One of the things just to bring up is this house. There's pictures. I was watching a video of me. I don't know. I was very young. I think it was when they first took the house. We were here literally every weekend. We just used to stay outside, watch Uncle Ricky play tennis because he was literally, to us, he was like a professional. It's like watching McEnroe or, Agassi or someone like that growing up. And the family I love with really all my heart. Although we are related, they mean so much to me. And I know it's reciprocal. It's the relationships that we all have together are really phenomenal. I love them. Thank you for doing this and setting everything up. And the memory is everlasting. Love you. I also wanted to mention the personality. Because most of the friends, they always say how funny he was. And if anyone ever saw the Haddad family, my mom's Barbara, Auntie Carol and Eileen and Auntie Robin all have the same personality. From my grandma, and I'm sure my grandfather, Haddad, I didn't actually know him. He passed away before I was born, had a wonderful personality. So we all have the same, I want to say, insane sense of humor where, the one-liners, making people laugh, making people enjoy themselves. We all have it. It's contagious. And don't worry, stand up.
So I'm reading this on behalf of Isaac Mizrahi, who wrote this note to my grandma Sarah. And he said, okay, here it is. I met Ricky the same day I met Sarah, and I was dazzled by their collective beauty. Getting to know Sarah around that time was impossible without knowing the impact that Ricky had on her life. She was more beautiful, more alive because of him. He brought a kind of glow out in her, more than any rouge or eyeliner ever could. He stood by her and looked at her in a loving, dare I say sexy way that would make any young woman feel adored, powerful, and safe. He was one of the few men I have ever met in the community that valued women and wasn't afraid of their strength. I loved him because I loved Sarah, and I acknowledge in this case that her success to a great extent is Ricky's. Isaac Mizrahi.
Okay, I did not know everybody was going to be speaking tonight, or I would have prepared some kind of remarks. I just want to say that I remember Uncle Ricky like it was yesterday. For those of you who don't know, I was Adelaide High. Me, Abdo, Adelaide and High. We used to play Va and the Kakapipi Boy, running away from High everywhere we were. And we played tennis. Maybe we were trying to break the world record, calling the Asbury Park Press to come and check out the longest tennis rally ever. Of course, we weren't hitting the ball over the net. We were just, wherever the ball was rolling, we were picking up with the racket and hitting it over to the other side, and we were calling that tennis until Uncle Ricky came and said, "What the heck are you guys doing? That's not tennis." He wouldn't let us do it. He built a pool here on Parker Avenue. We thought it was a pool, but it was the fountain. But we used to actually swim in that fountain, in that little tiny fountain. I for sure wouldn't fit in there now, but I don't know how I fit in there back then. But it was great. Uncle Ricky taking me to chocolate soda in the green Jaguar, and he told me, watch me make the car dance. And he would just hit the gas and the brake and the gas and the brake, and he would turn the music up really loud, and the car would be shaking, and we would be dancing. And he said, you see, my car knows how to dance. So many memories. Very, very special. When they were breaking ground on the tennis court, I was here, and Uncle Ricky pulled me over with the kids. I think Adelaide for sure. I thought High, but I'm not sure he remembers, but went over to the court. He gave us good luck coins to put in the bottom of the corner of the court before they laid any of the subsurface, and he just said, "This is really for good luck." And I want to tell you, thank God, God willing, a million times, it'll bring us the greatest luck of all. When we were building my house, I put some special coins in the corner as well. And that's for you, Uncle Ricky. I love you and I miss you. And Aunt Sarah, of course, always the best. Don't forget, I was always at your house every day. I love you all.
So first of all, my name is Vivian Mala, and my mother was Auntie Tot, and Auntie Tot's sister was Auntie Amy. And when I was a kid growing up, and we used to go to Ocean Parkway to Uncle Abe and Auntie Amy, and we used to have dinner there and Thanksgiving and stuff like that. And Ricky and Sarah were there, and I was just a kid. And I used to say, "Oh my God, I just want to have somebody like that in my life so much. They're so in love with each other, you know?" And yes, I'm speaking. So I always said to my mother, you know, this is like the kind of life that would be beautiful for me. And unfortunately, Sarah's life worked out this way, but we became very, very close, Sarah and I. And I welcome Sarah in my life. I love her. I can't do enough for her. She's been an unbelievable person and a strength to my life and made me a stronger person, made me realize that you just have to move on and you just got to go through the journeys in life. And I've been through my own journeys, but you know what? It makes you who you are. So I just want to end the night by saying, Sarah, thank you. We miss you, Ricky. And it's just, I'm lost for words right now, and me being lost for words is off the charts. So I want to say I love you, everybody, and thank you for having me and being a part of this beautiful event. It was wonderful. Thank you.
So I really have just one very, very funny story to tell about Ricky's resilience, tenacity. When we came back from Acapulco, and he found this mark on his back. So he had surgery and had to have the glands removed from his arm. And of course, he was a righty. He couldn't play tennis with his right arm. So he started playing lefty. This is sometime around May. By July, he was beating everybody left-handed. So that's my tennis story. On a personal perspective, Ricky saved my life. I was at studio, and of course everybody remembers that we got raided, and we had a very, very big problem, and it looked like my life was over. And I went through 3 months of bitter hell. But then I went to visit Ricky at his deathbed. And when I saw him, it changed my whole perspective. And it saved my life because I was going dead downhill until I saw him, and I said, I looked at him and I said, as long as I have my family and my friends and my health, they can't take those things away from me. And I, looked at Ricky and I says, I'm not him, and it saved my life. So even on his deathbed, he was helping people. He helped me turn my life around. So that's my story.
I'm Victoria Mystery Satin. I was Ricky Haddad's niece. I'm Ricky Haddad's niece, and grew up in Auntie Sarah and Uncle Ricky's house. As a little girl, there was no one in the world like Uncle Ricky. And today someone just asked if you could compare him to someone today, who would it be? And after a minute, I said, there's no one person that you can compare him to today. But what you can do, and the amazing family that I'm blessed to be a part of, is to take each and every one of his children and the nieces and nephews, and you put them all together, everyone has an amazing characteristic that's like Uncle Ricky, whether it's their humor, their intelligence, their charm, their good looks, their chesed. If you put it all together, Jaime, Richie, Ray, Alex, Allison, Amy, Naomi, Adelaide, everybody together, you might get Uncle Ricky. We all have a part of him in us, and he'll forever be in our hearts.
I got friendly with Ricky when he first went to the Orient, because I've been going there for 49 years. And he was such a warm guy, and I looked up at him like he was a god. But he was the most down-to-earth and humble guy, and we got friendly. And then one year we were in Vegas for the magic show. And he said, let's go out to dinner. So we went, me, him, and a couple of other guys. And I said, you can't get reservations. It's magic. Everything's booked. Don't worry, we'll go. We'll get a reservation. So we walked into this one restaurant, and I went to the maitre d'. I says, listen, you got to give us a table. I'm with my friends. They came from New York. I'll take care of you. No, I can't do it. Please, you got to. No, impossible. So I went back. I told Ricky, I tried. It's impossible. He said, let me do it. And I feel like this guy, gorgeous guy, charismatic, he's going to figure it out. So he leaves us. I see him. He takes a $20 bill.
20 or 100?
20. He licks it. He puts it on. I said, can we get a table, please? And the guy sent us right in. And that's charisma.
Yes.
Another time I was with him in another restaurant, and the maid. You eat a lot, Charles. I ate a lot. I mean, come on. So, Grandpa Ricky goes to this very fancy French restaurant with a very stuck-up, like obnoxiously French maitre d', and he tells him, can we get a table? No, monsieur, no. So he turns around, he takes out a $100 bill, and he's playing with the $100 bill with the guy. Says, monsieur, could you please get us a table? Okay, no problem. We go, we sit at the table. I see Ricky, slap the money in his hand and shake the guy's hand, and he gave him $2.
I just want to say how proud I am to be a Haddad.
I don't have any memories of my dad, but I just wanted to say thank you to everyone, and thank you to my family for supporting me and supporting us and supporting each other. And even though we have some challenging times, we definitely love each other and we support each other always. And you guys are the best. And Mommy, Rini, we love you. And I'm so proud of you guys. And I love you. So thank you, everyone. Boys, you want to say anything? I promise in 30 years you're going to love this one. Mo? Say anything.
Wait.
Steven?
Hello.
Hello. Rick?
Hi, my name's Ricky Haddad.
His name is Ricky Haddad. Honey?
Love you guys.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye-bye.